got your Bibles, you might want to be able to have the feature that helps you navigate between, some people call that flipping pages. At other points, you got to push a button. But whatever, if you want to turn your Bibles on, we're going to be going to a few places this morning. We'll be in Galatians and Philippians and in 2 Timothy. As we wrap up this sermon series on service, this is number 6, if you've been counting, and a thing talking about cross training. Which is a kind of exercise. If you don't exercise your body, it will look like mine. You don't want that. You'll grow heavy. You'll get tired climbing stairs. If you don't exercise your body, you won't be able to keep up with Kent Plank, who will walk you to death. Although I got to tell you, if you do start exercise, you walk together with Kent. We walked over. What is this, Browning here? Which if you've driven over Browning, you know that that's actually a roller coaster where they've removed the tracks, right? We did that a couple of weeks ago, and we're walking up the front end, and I couldn't breathe, and I had pain in my back, and we did that on Friday, and we're walking up, and I couldn't breathe, but my back didn't hurt. Because if you exercise, you start to get better. It changes your body. I think perhaps our bodies experience this to teach us something about our souls. If we will engage in discipleship, the fitness of our souls will change. Fact of the matter is, if you aren't in good shape, you may not be ready for the wonders of heaven. Heaven is going to be wonderful. But we've got work to do here to be ready for it, right? Not to get in there, because everything for that is done for us, right? The Christ has done that. But why did He tell us to engage in discipleship? So that you can be ready to receive the blessings when you're there. So, for the last several weeks, we've been talking, I've opened every time with this picture of my brother, at least I think I've done it every time, to talk to you about a man who can run 100 miles. Remember? You remember, right? That when he runs 100 miles and he gets to mile, 44, and gets struck by lightning, he runs another 20 miles before he decides to give up. Good grief. He runs a marathon after being hit by lightning. I have the good sense that when I get hit by lightning, I die. But he keeps going. How can he do that? Well, I'll be honest, I don't want to be able to do that. But I would like to be able to walk over Browning without it hurting. If you want to go 100 miles, you have to begin by doing 1 mile. You have to begin working. And the reality, I think He'll tell you, it becomes easier to go the further you go. The more you work, the easier it gets. But what about when that's not true? What about the fact that it still hurts? As I'm running, it still hurts. And of course, we're not really trying to run 100 miles. We're trying to become people like that man. We're trying to become people who naturally give of ourselves, give ourselves away. Even the incarnation in the first place, even coming here in the first place, is an act of self-gift, of an unfathomable quality. That He would even come and walk among us, creatures of hate, this great Prince of love. It's stunning that He would do that. That He might reorient our hearts and rescue us and save us and help us to become people who look at His example of the cross and hear His call, take up your cross and follow me. And that we might become people of self-denial. And we might become people who give ourselves away. And again, this becomes more natural the more that you do it. When you first hear about it, Adam's heart within us beats within us and rejects the idea of service and self-gift. Why would I do that? I don't want to do that. What's in it for me? But the more that you do it, the more you begin to discover this is where I am truly and fully alive. Am I right? Those of you who are exercising this way, am I right? But what about when that's not true? When that's not the case? Have you ever tried to do discipleship and it just hurt and it didn't feel like there was paying anything? You know, we say no pain, no gain, but what about when it's just pain? What if I'm just hurting myself? How do I keep going when I become uncertain about this sacrificial life? How do I keep this moving forward? Because He has called us to something that is hard. We've been looking at it for some time now, right? I've been throwing these words at you from Matthew over and over again. That the great ones, they exercise authority, but not you. You want to find greatness, you do it in slavery. You do it in service. This, where your will is not in charge of your life. That's what slavery is. Where the needs and even the desires of others become what significantly drives you, not your will. Where loving kindness decides what you're going to do. You know, if you listen through this sermon series, if you were listening, you might have noticed I didn't give you a lot of pragmatic examples saying, here, do this. Did you notice that? This is what you do. This is what it looks like at your workplace. This is what it looks like in your home. This is what it looks like. Because Jesus didn't. It is the responsibility and duty of every Christian to say, how do I do that? What will it look like if I act out of love here? That's the important thing, that you're training your heart to say, how do I love right now, right here, in this place? What will it look like if it's not my will pushing things? It's the opportunity of every Christian to live in love. So this is the pragmatic principle. What would it do if I was a slave? What would I do if I was a servant? Well, raise your hand if you think slavery sounds fun. Man, and I've been preaching for 5 weeks on this? No, I'm kidding. It doesn't sound fun to me either. And especially when you're doing it. When you do the thankless work for masters who don't recognize what you're doing, or even will be critical of you while you're doing it. But remember, they mocked Him while He was on the cross. How do I keep going? How do I keep from becoming this? I talked about this briefly in one of the earlier sermons so that we could talk about it now. If you've ever been a member in a health club, you're familiar with the resolution tourists. You know, because in January, the health clubs fill up, don't they? You know, and they're full till somewhere around mid-February or mid-January, you know. And it starts pairing out really quick, right? Why does that happen? Well, because New Year's happens and people go, man, I could wear these pants last year. I can't get this closed now, so I got to lose some weight. That's the number one resolution. So people head to the gyms and they go, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to lose it this year, absolutely. And they go in and they go,